Hey guys, welcome back to Obsidian Tower 40K. Today I'm going to be talking about my top 5 Space Marine chapters. Let's get right into the list. At number 5, my 5th favorite Space Marine chapter is the Dark Angels. They're really awesome because of the Death Wing. They have their first company is completely dedicated to Terminators. On the tabletop, they can carry a variety of really heavy weapons like plasma cannons and assault cannons, all kinds of really cool stuff. And of course, they're not too bad in combat either. They can carry around thunder hammers, storm shields, lightning claws, and power fists. So they're really the best of both worlds. They got really cool shooting stuff. They got really cool combat stuff. They look cool. They can teleport into dangerous locations. I mean, that's what Terminators are for. They're for fighting in really dangerous situations. So I think it's really cool that the Dark Angels have an entire company dedicated to a really cool thing like Terminators. What's left of their homeworld is called the Rock. At the end of the Horus Heresy, there was a civil war in the chapter, and it culminated in the destruction of their homeworld. But what's left of it, it was kind of turned into a giant fortress. So I think that's pretty awesome. I think it's also really cool that they have cloaks. They wear cloaks over the top of their armor, like hoods and I forget what those, tarbards. I think is it tarbards? I don't know. However you say that. And they hunt for their fallen brothers from the end of the Horus Heresy, the ones that betrayed them and went to the dark side, joined Chaos. They're on a constant hunt for those guys. I think that's really cool. And the last thing I think that makes them my 5th favorite is their second company captain's jet bike. I think that's really dope. He also has a special land speeder that has all kinds of guns on it. That's really cool too, but no other Imperial units have jet bikes, so I mean, I gotta hand it to the jet bike with a plasma cannon on it. That's dope. At number 4, we have the Black Templar, and the Black Templar are really cool because they have a fleet-based chapter, so they don't have a homeworld, and they number like well over the standard Codex described 1,000 members to a chapter. The Black Templars are somewhere between 1,000 and 4,000, maybe 10,000. There's a lot of Black Templars, which is normally frowned upon in the Imperium, but the Black Templar get away with it by being such good Space Marines. Their coloring and their heraldry is really cool. They have black and white armor with this cool cross design, and sometimes they make use of like red and gold in that, and I think it all looks really cool when it's put together. I also really like that the Black Templar make a really heavy use of Land Raiders. The Land Raider Crusader, I love that Land Raider. It's just loaded with guns. It's so cool. It carries a ton of Space Marines. And, I mean, it does exactly what a Black Templar needs it to do. So, I mean, what's not to love about that? And lastly, I really like the Crusader squads. So, the Black Templar deviate from the Codex in a really cool way. Normally, Space Marines fight in 10-man squads of power armored equipped Space Marines, but the Black Templar make use of these Crusader squads where you have an initiate, which is like your standard Space Marine battle brother, but you'll also have like a neophyte to accompany them, and he is like a newly inducted member of the chapter, and he's training alongside a more experienced member of the chapter. So I think that's really cool. Number 3, the Blood Angels. The Furioso Dreadnought is really awesome. I love Dreadnoughts. I love Terminators. But the Blood Angels have those specialty Dreadnoughts that are really good at killing stuff in close combat. And they're painted red and they have yellow accents. They look really cool. I really like how Blood Angels have wings sculpted to their armor. They'll have gems stuck into their armor panels. And so I think they even have a unit of guys that are just like completely gold, and they're all sculpted, and they have wings and maces and stuff. They look awesome. But I mean, you can't mention Blood Angels without the Ball Predator. That thing is sweet. I mean, so most Space Marines have access to a Predator, but the Blood Angels have access to a special Predator that goes really fast and is loaded with guns. You can put assault cannons on it, you can put heavy bolters on it, you can put flamethrowers all over the thing. It's awesome. It's a really cool tank. It used to be cooler in the older edition when you could take it as a fast attack, but now that you have to take it in a heavy support and it's in competition with normal predators, it kind of loses a little bit of its appeal. That being said, a couple things like Assault Marines used to be really unique to the Blood Angels, but now they're just like every other chapter. That kind of sucks, but overall, I think the Blood Angels are really cool, and I really like Space Hulk, which is based around the Blood Angels Terminators going in and clearing out gene stealers from a decrepit old spaceship. And number 2, we have the Blood Ravens. Now, I love the Blood Ravens because of the games Dawn of War. I think they look really cool, and I really love the characters in the Blood Ravens chapter. You got Gabriel Angelos and Jonah O'Ryan and Diomedes. They're just really cool characters. You could collect them and play them on the table and be like, really into the lore with it. And you can get really, into the details, making your chapter as close to the game as possible. And I think that would be a really fun thing to do. I really like how their lore, they have mysterious origins. You're never really told where they came from in terms of like their founding chapter. Most chapters are like they can tie their roots back to the Ultramarines or the Imperial Fists. So, one of those chapters, one of the first founding chapters. But the Blood Ravens, because they were made up for a game, their origins are kind of shrouded in secrecy and mystery, and the Blood Ravens are always trying to seek out their origins through relics and whatnot. And you can read on the wiki too that it's theorized that their founding chapter is actually one of the traitor chapters, the Thousand Sons, which bear a striking similarity to the Blood Ravens in terms of color and kind of the timeline, how it all fits together. But that being said, it's really cool. I also really like how the Blood Ravens use psychers to accompany all of their captains as advisors. And even in one of the games, a librarian becomes chapter master, which is kind of cool. I'm not sure if he was chapter master and chief librarian at the same time. I don't really know how that works, but I thought that was cool. And I really like how the Blood Ravens can make use of pretty much any chapter doctrine on the tabletop. They're really flexible in that respect. So because of their mysterious origins, you could say, oh, I'm playing them as an Ultramarine successor, or I'm playing them as, whatever flavor of the week you feel like playing them as. So they really give you a lot of flexibility, and that's why they're my number 2. And before we get to number 1, I'd like to make an honorable mention of the Grey Knights. I think they're really cool because of their use of Terminators as infantry, and I like how they're all psychers, and they specifically hunt down demons. And they have some really cool psychic weapons and stuff. But, I thought I'd mention them. Lastly, my personal favorite chapter, the Ultramarines, of course. As you know, I have a big collection of them. I really like them because they have a really detailed chapter chronology. You can read all about the different characters from the chapter master, Marnius Calgar. They even have a Primarch. You can read about the Primarch. You can play the Primarch. And then even the chief librarian. I'm not going to list all the characters, but pretty much any position you can think of in a Space Marine chapter, there's a named character for them in the Ultramarines chapter and in the Space Marine book that you can play. So you can be really accurate to the lore of the chapter whenever you play the game. I think the design of the Ultramarines is really cool. I really like the blue and the golds, and with the red helmets. All of their heraldry is really clear and distinctive. It's good and bad on the tabletop in a tactical sense because your enemy can really tell who he needs to kill first. I really like the lore surrounding the Ultramarines. They have their own system that they protect called Macragge, and it's a series of planets that are under the protection of the Ultramarines. And they're kind of a codependent system that works together, and it's a great place. Ultramarines tend to be all around good guys, as far as I know. They generally do the right thing, and they're really good soldiers. They're really well disciplined. And lastly, I think what really got me into Warhammer and why the Ultramarines are so significant to me would be the game Space Marine. I absolutely loved that game, and I loved playing as Captain Titus and all those other characters. Killing the orcs and the chaos, and it would be really cool. You could take take the lore out of Space Marine, the game, and build your chapter of Ultramarines around the game and make it as accurate to that game as you wanted. I think that's really cool and really fun. Well, that concludes my list, and I hope you enjoyed listening to me ramble on about Space Marines. Tune in next time. More to come.